seats on the Conservative Crime Fighter. We are at the Lincoln Balloon Festival. We just had a professional wrestling entertainment event that is in the books, and my guest at this time is someone who wrestled on that event. He's one of the more controversial wrestlers, you have to admit that, don't you? Mephisto, formerly known as Lenny K, if you're a fan of full throttle. How are you doing today?
All right.
Now, last night was the final IWA Mid-South event for the foreseeable future. You wrestled a four-way ultra-hardcore match with Dixieland Destroyer, Chris Habeas. Trouble figuring out the name there. And one other individual, that was
Joey Grunge.
Your thoughts on that match? And I guess right now, possible end of an era.
Well, as far as the match goes, I was proud of the match. I was glad to be a part of it, glad to have the opportunity. As far as IWA Mid-South goes, you know, if they run shows in the future, maybe it was an opportunity for me to get on shows in the future. If it was the end of an era, it was a part of wrestling history, and I'm honored to be a part of that history.
Now, you participated in a tryout show earlier, about a couple of months earlier. The rules of that event was that if the fans liked it, it went all the way to the end. If the fans didn't like it, they rang a gong. Your match didn't make it all the way to the end because of something wrong with your opponent, or
something wrong with me?
I don't know. You missed.
Well,
you tried the flying head scissors and it came off the maneuver.
First of all, okay, fans don't ring the gong.
Right.
Judges ring the gong.
Prompting the fans.
And when the dude got there, he claimed he'd been trained by Lance Storm, and then when he got out there, he didn't know anything. And when he dropped me on my head, they rang the gong and it was over. I got porked out of my opportunity because of some idiot.
Now, how did he get on the show? How did you get paired with him?
I showed up, he showed up. We didn't have opponents, we got paired up.
All right. Let's go into some basic questions. What are your first memories of watching the sport?
Oh, my first memories?
Yes.
When I was a kid, I remember watching WWF, you know, and guys like Hillbilly Jim, you know, the same old cliches everybody would tell you. But when I was a kid, you know, I was a really big fan of the Stinger, the Big Boss Man, the Ultimate Warrior, guys like that. You know, I never wanted to be a wrestler until I was about 12 or 13.
What motivated you to get into the wrestling business?
I don't know, I was just sitting there watching it one day with my family, you know. And there's a Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart promo. I can't remember exactly what happened in the promo, but Owen Hart said something similar to something I would say. And some of my family members laughed, and they said, hey, you could do that, or that's something you would do. And I thought about it really seriously, and I love wrestling so much. You know, I thought about it all the time. And I don't know, that's what I want to do. It just felt right. It felt like it clicked. Like that was something I could do. Like maybe even I was meant to do.
Now you've kind of, your style of wrestling is kind of oriented towards the hardcore. Now what motivated you, or how did you decide you wanted to be a hardcore wrestler? As opposed to, let's say, strong style, technical, high flying, or submission?
Well, I can do a little bit of everything. I mean, I'm not great at any one particular style. That's the thing about me. I'm just a little bit of everything, you know. And when I was a kid, like going back to the first question, my first memories, wrestling goes in phases. And when I was a little kid, it was in a boom period in the 80s. That's when I was watching it. You know, in the probably mid-90s, I quit watching it. And when I got older, I watched it again. And when I started watching it again, guys I was drawn to were like Mick Foley. You know, that was the main guy I was drawn to, Mick Foley and The Undertaker. And then I discovered ECW. And my whole life had changed at that point of how I felt about wrestling. I wanted to be an ECW wrestler. I wanted to be like Mick Foley or Tommy Dreamer.
Or Ian Rock.
Yeah. I mean, you know, at the time, whenever I had got into ECW, Ian Rotten wasn't there anymore.
Right.
And I picked up some old, Pioneer, they put out those DVDs, and they have like the classic ECW matches. And I saw this match between Ian and Axel. I liked that. That was pretty cool, you know. And
I gotta believe that one.
I don't care, man. You know, you would have expected me to come out and throw a lot more profanities out when I actually had at this point. But, you know,
Keep it clean
I don't
because
know, when Ian moved to this state, I thought, wow, IWA Mid-South has moved to my state, the state that I live. I need to go up there and try and get a job.
right.
And I met Ian, and, you know, Ian doesn't BS anybody. You know, if he thinks you're crap, he'll tell you you're crap, and he'll send you, you know, he'll tell you. You know what I mean? I don't know, I just really like the guy. He seems really giving. There's a lot of older guys that I've met that aren't very giving.
Right.
They won't take a young guy that they never met and put him up in their house. They won't feed them for a weekend. They won't share the wrestling knowledge with them. They'll tell them to F off, or, you know, they'll just come in and work with the guy and get their pay and leave. You know, I mean, Ian Rotten kind of reminds me, you know, you always hear stories about Terry Funk on the ECW DVDs and stuff, how he's always ready to give back. And that's what puts me to mind of.
Who are your teachers and trainers that got you started?
Got me started?
Got you started, and then as you progressed along?
Well, my original trainers were Harsh, Jeremy Lightfoot, and Luke Roberts. And we started Mid-America Extreme. I came in for $300. They were ready to teach me the art of professional wrestling. And then as years progressed and I went on, I realized, hey, I didn't get all the fundamentals in my training that I needed to be successful. I didn't get everything that I needed. And a lot of stuff, you know, I've either learned on my own experiences, or I went to seminars. I trained with Dingo for a couple months, you know, went down to Dynamo, and I learned quite a bit down there. And I mean, you know, if I keep going, I'll probably go back eventually. I'm sure the knowledge could progress and my skills could improve. But right now, I'm just, you know, when Ian Rotten has a camp or Ian Rotten has a seminar, I go to that. He's got the most experience in the worker, and I value his opinion.
How long have you been wrestling so far?
I'll be 5 years in October.
5 years. And where are some of the places that you've worked?
Well, I started.
You might have a long list, but we'll just narrow it down to the most prominent.
I started off in Mid-America Extreme. You know, I was pretty much just a rookie, the guy they beat up. And after that, I went to Colonel JT's on American Wrestling.
Oh gosh.
And from there, you know, I just worked random indies, you know. I got in Wicked Wrestling Alliance. I had my third match there. They really took care of me, you know, gave me opportunities. You know,
You had some of your highest profile matches there.
Yeah. They made an investment in me, and I tried to do right by them at every turn for doing so.
I think I believe you wrestled Man Hondo up there.
Yeah, that's another thing. When I was 14, I saw Man Hondo in a wrestling magazine. And I saw him on some JCW tapes, and I thought, wow, I'd like to be kind of like that too, you know? And when they asked me who I wanted to wrestle, who I wanted to defend my hardcore championship against, I suggested Man Hondo. And they brought him in, and I got to work with him. He beat my pillar to post, and I learned a little bit from him.
And was that your favorite wrestling match so far, or do you have a different one?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be partial to the ones that, you know, have the higher profile stars. Like, even though, you know, Ian Rotten, he beat me up the whole time. I like that match. I like the match where I beat Carlo for the hardcore title. And I like the match where I beat Neil Diamond Cutter for the Wrestling Alliance hardcore title. Those are my 3 favorite matches.
Yeah, you tell us. At the very last independent hardcore wrestling event, you wrestled Ian Rotten, and it was, from the pictures I saw,
Pretty brutal.
What?
They tore me up.
What did you do? Looked like he tore up your elbow. That was the worst.
I mean, the camera can see it. They got
Yeah.
started. No, I'm sure. Yeah. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
What's it like wrestling Ian Rotten? Because is he the most brutal wrestler to face, or is somebody nastier?
I would say that he is a brutal wrestler to face. I mean, he'll do things like he'll break a beer bottle and stick your head with it, you know. He'll staple a dollar bill to your top of your head and hit it with a chair and smash it in. You know? But I'll tell you what, working with him, wrestling against him, is unlike any other opponent that I've faced.
he the biggest hard hitter?
Yeah. Yeah, he's mean. You know, we're going to work somewhere down the road, and I'm going to show him that I can push every over.
What is the worst experience you've ever had in the ring that you like to completely forget about ever happened?
Well, I mean, I'd have to take 3 years out of my 5-year wrestling career, to forget,
There's got to be one.
There's a lot of bad
incident.
moments. I mean, you get shuffled around from indie fed to indie fed, And it's somebody I know they call him indie-tastic.
Right.
And you get, just crap bag after crap bag to work with, just because you do hardcore or something. They 'cause I told you I do a little bit of everything. They just assume that you're no good and they want to put you against, the guys they don't care about and throw that guy alone because he shows up and sets up the ring or whatever. I mean, it's almost TNT Kenny G asked me about Mark Sterling if I was going to lose the belt to him.
Well, technically, you did lose the belt to him.
It was some predetermined, outcome or something. No, I was going to get there and whoop for that belt.
It didn't happen, but the match never happened.
It didn't happen. Back to the moments I'd like to forget. There was one time there was a referee, and Playboy Double H's cousin was the ref. And I had the guy in the Boston Crab, and he was tapping out. The ref didn't do anything about it. So I yell, he's tapping out. I throw the ref down. I throw the guy down. I go after the ref. And I was cussing him out. I'm like, what are you doing, I put him back in the crab, and I really put the torque on him. He's tapping. The ref gets down and counts him down to 3. Well, the guy's on his belly, and I got him in the crab. I could have killed that man.
So he didn't have any idea what he was doing.
No,
he didn't know.
No, and I didn't understand why they would put, a guy claiming to be a referee in a match like that. He has no skill or no experience or anything.
How much skill does it take to be a ref? I mean, I slap my hand on the mat 3 times or wait for the tap.
I'd also take the fan back when I headbutted SLW.
Oh yeah, tell us about that because you got into you got into it what the Tally Twins.
No, I didn't get.
Or the father of the Tally Twins, I think is what it was.
My partner got shoved. He shoved my partner. We were doing the mic spot. We were giving the fans bar and soap and job applications because Mattoon's it's a hole. It's a scumbag town. I hate Mattoon, and I hope I never have to go back there and wrestle again. But
we will if they pay you.
They pay me enough. You know what I mean? If there's enough zeros behind that big number, I'll come in. But yeah, my partner went to give him the job application, and he gets up and shoves my partner. Now why?
Well, actually, he stuffed the application down his shirt.
I saw a shove.
Yeah.
Why would the father of these 2 refs, pretty decent refs too, one's got a job up in the WWE now.
Right.
Why would this kid's dad get up and shove a wrestler? And I didn't know it was their dad. I just see my partner get shoved. So I went out there and I said, hey, why don't you try doing that to me? And if he'd have did that to me, I don't care if his kid's up in the WWE or not. I'd have broke that old man in half.
Well, but
you don't shove
your
partner.
I know that.
He didn't want none of this.
I do fear an incident happening between a fan and a wrestler. We had such a thing happen today.
Hey, he didn't want none of this, I mean, I went out there, what did he do? He sat down. Yeah. If he'd have got up, I might be in jail right now.
Well,
I'd probably never get a job. I'd probably
would
never
have
get
been
a job
shut down a lot sooner.
But, I may never get a job from Vince.
And we'll just transition to this next question. Because
that's a problem.
Transition to the next question. Now, you've had a few different incidents with fans attacking you. Let's go down to Heartland Championship Wrestling. You were cutting the promo in the ring, and somebody who had a little bit too much to drink decided to jump in the ring after you.
Yeah, he run
what
in.
Happened?
I couldn't believe he was even running in, I did the bar of soap bit. I give him the bar of soap. They threw the soap at me, And I told him, I was like, hey, don't be throwing nothing at me. And, he raised up his beer bottle like he's going to throw it at me. I was like, you want a piece of me? You get in here right now. And, I was a little more angrier at the time. And he runs in. And then I was like, wow, this guy's really running in here. He wants to show me what's real. So, you know, I'm just, at this point, I've never been to the town before. I don't know if they'll take me to jail, you know. So I'm just trying to hold him off. Just try to back him up, you know. And the kid runs in the ring. 13-year-old kid starts hitting me in the back. Starts hitting me pretty hard, so I turn around and bust that kid in the face. Right in the head, I start pounding him down like it's whack-a-mole, Chuck E. Cheese.
Who did you face that night?
Some Moondog Rover or something.
Oh, from South Broadway.
I don't know.
He is from South Broadway.
Yeah, but he ain't no damn Moondog. That's one of my peeves is people going around trying to, you know, steal a gimmick without, you know, getting the permission or pretend like they're somebody, so the boys in the back will respect them, or the fans think that they're somebody, you know.
Well, how do you feel about that other Mephisto from Mexico? Did he steal your gimmick?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think either one of us stole from anybody.
All right. You're promoting, started promotion. Tell us about IHW.
IHW? I got tired of looking around in the area and seeing all the same crap all the time.
Right.
The same guys on top, the same shows. I mean, they always look. It's always the same thing over and over. How much could a wrestling audience really take of the same guys? You know what I mean? The same kinds of matches. Same guys work the same guys. It's not different. There's nothing different about the St. Louis area.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, like mmwa-sicw is different from LWA, but you know,
I don't see Broadway people working LWA. I don't see them working mmwa-sicw.
And I mean, you know what I mean? I hate that. So what I wanted to do is open up a company where I can use guys from all the feds if I desire. You know,
and a few different regions.
And I can use people from up north. There's no real politics. I'm the boss.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is what I want. This is what I want you to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm the boss. You don't got to talk to this guy and talk to that guy.
Right.
All you got to do is call me on the phone. You know what I mean? I'll try and take some young guys that I think have potential. I'll put them in a situation where they can make themselves a star.
Right.
If the crowd doesn't buy them, or they don't, you know, for whatever reason it doesn't get over, that's on their shoulders. Because I gave them the platform to make themselves a local star in the area.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's have Brandon Aarons on September 5th against Harker Dirge for the PW title.
I'm going to tell you right now, this episode will air after that show, so we'll have to look down the road and point out the next IHW show. We'll have it across the screen once we find out the date when the show airs. But go right ahead.
Go ahead and what?
Well, you're going into Brandon Aarons versus Bloody Harker Dirge.
It's like Brandon, you know. I feel like he's got potential. You know, he's a product of Dingo. He come out of Dynamo. Let's give this kid a shot. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's see if he can step up to the next level and be the main eventer.
Right.
And the same goes for everybody. You know, if they can come in, you know, unless they're already an established star like Kid Rock, you know, or anybody else that might bring in.
It is an open door policy.
Yeah. I mean,
where can wrestlers go if they want to get booked at IHW?
Well, they go to MySpace because I'm not going to set up a website or anything. You know, I figure the MySpace.
Well, a lot of places are like that.
Yeah, I figure the MySpace is just as good as the website. www.myspace.com/IHW Promotions.
All right. What's your view of the Missouri Athletic Commission? Do you believe the laws in the books are too strict, or?
I think the money they charge the promoters to run are too strict. And all the rules, you know? Like if I wanted to have a match with Mondo in Missouri, I couldn't do that. Because they wouldn't want him to take a fork and stick it in my head and cut me open and have me bleed everywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? They wouldn't want me to take a staple gun to Ian Rotten's tongue. You know what I mean?
That's pretty rough.
You feel me though? You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't want all the glass. They wouldn't want violence.
Well, they wouldn't want ultra hardcore.
Well, to me, wrestling, you know, it's show and it's spectacle, but it's a fight. It's violence. You know what I mean? If they bring in Necro Butcher versus Pondo, they should be allowed to let those guys go and do whatever they want to. But you know, if they did that, they'd get fined and they might lose their license and get kicked out. Now, the HIV testing, the hepatitis testing, that's cool, that's fine. You know, make sure that nobody catches anything.
Right.
That's. I mean, I hardly ever wrestle in Missouri, but that's one thing I like about the license. Is if I go and trade blood with people all over Illinois, and I go do my test and they get it back, I know what I got or what I don't got. Right now, I got my license, I ain't got nothing.
You think Illinois needs some sort of re-regulation? Because there's no regulation.
You know,
and everybody's opening the Fed these days.
I don't think that you need regulation so much. The only thing I really think if they were going to step in and do anything is make sure the women aren't pregnant before they wrestle, and make sure that nobody has any, diseases that they can transmit to another, such as the HIV or the hepatitis.
All right. Favorite part of my interview right now? Word association.
No comment here.
Well, that'll be fine.
All right.
WWE.
They're making the money. They're doing something right.
TNA?
They should change it to TNT, Total Nonstop Talking.
Actually, I have the acronym spelled Talking Nonstop.
Okay.
Always.
Okay.
Ring of Honor.
So much physical talent in that company. You know what I mean? I mean, those guys, they're just so physical. Phenomenal wrestlers, when it comes to the technical style.
LWA. We had the Lethal Wrestling Alliance Tag Champions here.
Yeah.
We won them on a show that wasn't an LWA event, which is practically unheard of these days.
Sometimes I feel my opinion changes, Right now I'm kind of indifferent, I mean, if they want to know why I'm indifferent, they can come up and ask me and I'll tell them.
How do you move Mid-South?
That was the goal I was working for. I mean, like I said, I wanted to be an ECW wrestler when I was a kid.
Right.
And they're not around anymore.
For now.
For now. What else is, what?
For now.
I said
back down the road.
I said ECW is not around.
Well,
I don't-
ECW is part of WWE, but we'll move on.
I don't count that.
South Broadway. There's your no comment. I got it. MECW, Metro East.
They're good for what they do, I mean, the target audience they're trying to draw and everything.
Well, they use a mix of Iowa and downstate.
Well, they don't like St. Louis guys. This is what I've heard. The rumor is, I heard they just weren't really a fan of most St. Louis wrestlers.
That's a little surprising.
And hey man, they bring a different product to the area, so it can't really hurt anything.
Full Throttle. Now this will be fun.
It could be fun. I've never seen a bigger group of unmotivated, selfish guys in my life.
Well, that and their roster's thin.
They don't, because they ran all the good talent off.
But they won't bring any.
They bring in a few guys. They got Guy Smith, and they brought in that. They trained that Prince Nocturnal guy or whatever. I don't know, but I was there before Searcher came back in.
Right.
And I don't know. There's certain guys that are in management. They're just cocky. They don't care about their guys. They don't help set up, but they don't want to pay anybody. But they expect everybody to come in and flyer and set up the ring. They weren't paying people when I was there, And then, one time I said something about the pay, and the one dude says to me, "Well, if you'd set up the ring once in a while, you wouldn't have that problem." And I'm like,
I've helped set up a ring and tear it down before. So.
I've been coming in here and setting up rings since I got here for the last 6 months. Where have you been? Not paying attention?
Max.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
The reason that they didn't like me and the reason they got rid of me is because I'm more talented than they are. And I could exceed them in any situation.
Hurry up here.
Now I'm done.
This cold air is starting to really
You better edit all that in between talking.
Max.
That's where I got my start. It wasn't the best company in the area. But like I said, they gave me my start.
What's the deal with Butch Fletcher? He's
I don't know.
up. I don't know what his problem is.
I don't know. Why don't you talk to him?
He doesn't want to talk.
Give him a call.
Gateway. City, or not Gateway City.
Gateway Championship Wrestling.
There's this. Somebody's wanting to start this.
They're the company. They're the company that produced the most talent in the area to go nationwide.
Right.
They obviously did something right. You know, I might not agree with all of one guy's practices there, but looking back on it, and hindsight's 20/20. You know, I'm sure that if I could go back, I'd have pushed other people away from me that were getting in my ear, and I'd have went over there and tried to get a legitimate opportunity. In my opinion, at one time, they were the best company in the area, and nobody can take that away from them.
GAW.
No comment.
Yeah, we're not seeing eye to eye with them.
Well, there's some things possibly in the works. No comment.
All right, Midwest.
I don't know enough about them.
And you were there for that one Battle Royale, or Royal Rumble, back in a couple of years ago.
I mean,
I was surprised to see you there.
They're okay, from what I did see, but I haven't seen enough to make an applicable judgment.
Heartland Championship Wrestling.
If they could get some security and book a little bit better talent, they might be on to something. They need to scrap about half of what they got and bring in new and get some security.
SLW.
I headbutt the fan, they kicked me out, I've never seen so many guys with so much physical ability and no brains whatsoever. Unrefined. They need a little more seasoning.
The St. Louis wrestling scene.
On its.
Really?
Yes.
It's not doing so well.
It is on its. Go down there. Every weekend, because sometimes they have those weekends where every weekend there's a show down there, or there's 2 shows one weekend, Just go down and check a couple of them out back to back when you can. On its.
Chicago wrestling scene.
I haven't been up there in so long I couldn't make an applicable judgment, but if the economy's bad and wrestling in St. Louis is on its, maybe St. Louis and Chicago's hurting too.
Jeremy Wyatt.
He
made the PWI 500 again.
PWI 500.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Call him 444 now.
Yeah,
that's his number.
Yeah, he's the belt collector. He's got a belt everywhere he goes. He's a good talent in the ring. He definitely deserves what he gets.
Just that one.
But I got some beef with his boy Mark Sterling. And if he gets in the way, we just have to see what happens.
What about Mark Sterling?
He's got my belt.
Mike Seidel, the brother of Matt.
I like Mike Seidel. Nothing bad. He's always nice and cordial to me.
The future Jonathan Ruck, and he also made the PWI 500.
I hate him. Oh. Every time we've had a match against each other, he's had his hand raised in victory when it was all said and done. And everybody's like, oh, you're not going to win. You're wrestling the future. You can never beat the future. One day, I will beat the future, and I will beat him bad.
Brandon Espinosa, another person that made the PWI 500.
He's all right. He's all right with me.
Pierre Abernathy and Evangelistico, I don't know why they call themselves the Submission Squad, because that's Dingo and Tyson to me, but the European Express, or
No
European
comment.
Union.
No comment.
Really? You would not use them on your show?
I do use them on my show.
Okay.
They're good hands to have around. Other than that, I don't know them personally.
The Hooligans, and we'll throw in Neil.
The
Cutter.
Hooligans actually started training at Max. When Max
Really?
Yeah. I guess they paid in full for the training, and then when Butch closed the training center, they never got their money back. I don't know if in the contract it was non-refundable, because I didn't even read mine when I signed it, because I just wanted.
I had no idea they started.
I just wanted an opportunity. I didn't read mine, so I don't know what they said.
I really thought they came up from the land, but
They left.
That is where they went.
They decided, hey, we didn't get what we needed, and they went somewhere where they got what they needed, and that's what I should have done.
Yep. The Ego Express, Candy and Carrington.
They're overrated.
Really?
Yeah. I got some beef with Carrington and Kennedy. And if I ever get a chance in the ring, I'm going to show them they're not as good as they think they are.
Dingo.
I love the wrestling.
Ian Rotten.
Just like I said before, I'm no pushover. He beat me up before. I've learned from that. The next time we face, it's going to be a lot different.
Sean Benson.
I like Sean Danzig.
Gary J.
He's all right.
Max Archer.
He's a little slow, a little D-to-D. But other than that, he's all right.
Bloody Harker Dirge.
I like Harker. I love vampires, though. So
Madman Pondo.
I love Bondo. It's like I said, you know, when I was 14, I saw him on those JCW tapes. I wanted to do that.
Cabal.
He's all right.
Is there anybody that you'd like to have a match with that you've not had the chance?
There's a lot of people I'd like to have a match with and not had the chance.
Who's on the top of the list?
Necro Butcher. I want to wrestle Necro Butcher.
All right. Where can promoters go if they want to book, bring Mephisto to their wrestling event?
www.myspace.com/Mephisto WWA.
All right. Mephisto, I want to thank you for joining us today. PWE was pretty well attended. I don't have an idea of the crowd estimate, but it looked to be about 500 to 750, maybe 1,000.
Yeah.
But it was kind of hard to count all those.
There was a lot of people.
And hopefully, attendance is boosted at local area shows. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the Mad Conservative Crime Fighter. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Nosebleed Seats. MySpace.com/Nosebleed Seats and the St. Louis wrestling community at stowrestling.livejournal.com. We will see you next time.
Sweet.